Hey folks, welcome to Just a Guy DIY, where this week we're going to take a look at how to patch and paint the exterior foundation of a house. Let's get started. Alright folks, before we jump into the list of materials and how to complete the project, I want to give some background information. So this is actually part of a larger project where I'm going to be building a garden bed, but that's for next week. Don't worry about that. This week we're going to worry about patching this wall. Now, some of you may remember from the Snapchat days that I've already done this. This was actually a wooden door that led to some plumbing that we have since replaced. It doesn't need to get accessed, it's somewhere else. So what I went ahead and I ripped the door out and I used some cinder blocks and concrete to patch that wall. Now as you can see, there is already a crack and I need to go over it again. Now, I'm not too happy having to go over a job I already done. I don't like revisiting projects. I like doing something well enough the first time. However, foundations settle and crack. It's just what happens. And I'm also glad that I'm able to get this to you guys on YouTube, run through it more thoroughly than I could on Snapchat. And now you guys can access this again, and it's not just lost in the digital web forest, whatever world of old Snap stories. So with that, let's get started. Alright, let's go over the tools and materials we'll need. First of all, you'll need some trowels. This is a larger trowel which just helps cover large surfaces, which is going to be very helpful here because when I was putting in the cement and the cinder blocks before, some of them had kind of recessed in and there's kind of like a dip in the wall, so that's going to help me fill that out. Now this is just a smaller one. I like using this. It helps me mix and helps me get into smaller nooks and crannies. I also have this just old bucket I use just for mixing the cement and water according to the instructions that the cement has. And this is the cement I like to use. It's just hydraulic water stop cement. My mom and I had spent some time looking at our local hardware store and looking through what they had available, and this is the one we liked. I'm very familiar with this product. I've used it for a couple of projects and I really like how it works. It also helps block water out, which is really good for an outdoor foundation or even indoor foundation, which is another project I've used it for. But the biggest reason I use it is because I'm familiar with it and I know how it works, and I know it would work well out here. I wanted to take a moment to emphasize a few pieces of equipment, PPE, personal protective equipment, to use while dealing with cement, and that's going to be goggles or eye protection, gloves, and a mask. So there's something called cement poisoning, and according to poison control, cement can cause something called a caustic injury, which is like a chemical burn. Now that happens when you have cement inhaled, ingested, or stuck on your skin for a while, so please be careful when you're dealing with that. The main ingredient in cement mix is something called calcium oxide, and when water gets added to that, it becomes something called calcium hydroxide, which becomes very alkaline, very basic, and that can burn your skin. Now I'm going to put in the description a link to poison control where it runs through that more thoroughly, and I'm going to put in the description below a link to OSHA regulations and how to deal with cement when you're using it. So please be careful if you ever deal with this stuff. So as I finish up getting all my PPE ready, I wanted to run through some quick tips. One, I like keeping the water on hand. This bucket has water in it. The cement mix is in a bag here. This is just my mixing bucket right here. I keep everything ready right next to me because the cement can dry pretty quickly, so if I need to add more water to the mix, that's fine. Along those lines, you want to make sure you're reading the instructions on how to mix your cement. You want to make sure you're using the correct ratio of water to cement mix. I find I often add a little extra water to this mix. I think it makes it a little easier to use, a little easier to spread. If not, it's a little more like Play-Doh, at least for this mix, which could be helpful for filling in some cracks, but for something like this, I want it to be a little loose so I can just spread it with the trowel. So let's get started. So the concreting is done now. And as you guys hopefully saw, I focused a lot of my time up top instead of on the bottom. That's really where the dip was the most prevalent. It was much deeper there than the rest. Additionally, as I said, this is going to end up being a garden bed. So the bottom here is just going to get covered by dirt anyway. It's not that I don't want it to look good, but I didn't want to waste all my perfectionist energy on the bottom when I knew the top was going to be exposed. I also took a little time to fix that corner. It was a little misshapen, so I wanted to even it out, make it look a little better. Now I just have to wait until I can come out and paint. So I'm going to let it sit for the rest of the day, and then I'll come out and paint it tomorrow. Here we are, folks, day 2, painting day. The wall is dry and it's ready to go, so let's run down the list of materials we need first. We're gonna need a roller. I like using a roller. It's an even coat on the wall and it just goes more quickly. It's larger than using a paintbrush. Normally, I like to use something with a thicker nap, which is just how thick or fluffy this is. This is a 3/8 inch nap. It'll work for today because this is pretty smooth. But last time when I painted the rest of the foundation, I used a 1 1/4 inch nap. As I said, it's just, this is a little thicker. I like it because it held on to a little more paint and it got into some of the nooks and crannies. But as I said, this is pretty smooth and I shouldn't run into any issues. And with the roller, you want to make sure you have a paint tray. And I also like to have some gloves and a rag just to keep things clean, catch any drips, keep my hands clean. And I also like having one of these painter's tools. You can find them like a 5-in-1, 9-in-1. It helps you open up a paint can with this end, close it with this end. This one comes with little screwdriver sets inside. They're incredibly helpful. And it also helps you scrape out any excess paint from the roller. And the most important thing here is the paint. Now, in my Snapchat when I did this last time, I explained that this is actually a 1-part epoxy. This is garage and concrete paint, so it's actually going to help seal the foundation. It's going to help seal any of the small cracks and prevent some extra rain from getting in. Because remember, this is also hydro seal cement, so it's just a little extra layer of protection. Alright, so back inside my house, because I forgot I still need a paintbrush. As helpful as the roller is, it doesn't get up below the siding, so I need to get a paintbrush so I can get up underneath the siding of the house and make it look pretty. Let's get back outside. Now that I got my paintbrush, got some paint on it, go across the top so I can get underneath the siding of the house. I also want to make sure getting down as low as possible. Because remember, this is not just a paint, but it's an epoxy, so it's going to help seal. So the more of the foundation I get covered, the more the foundation that becomes protected. So the lower I go, even though it's going to be covered by a garden bed, means it's just going to have an extra layer of protection from this epoxy. So I'm going to finish this up and we'll get back. So there we have it, folks. The exterior foundation of the house getting patched and painted. As you saw, it's not incredibly complicated, but if you do decide to try this yourself, make sure you're reading the instructions on your cement or concrete and the paint or epoxy that you're using. They're all a little different. They all have little details that might be different on how to apply them or use them or mixing the concrete. Please be careful with that. Now, as for my thoughts, I think this looks great, looks fantastic. I'm glad that I was able to patch up a job that I did before. It really bothered me that was caved in a little, so I was glad to get back to that and fix it. Please let me know what you guys think below in the comments, and as always, until next time, thanks for watching.